Alright guys, what's good? Welcome to the podcast, Everything Under the Sun podcast. I brought this back. I tried doing it before and I didn't really realize the amount of work that it took to make a podcast. We'll talk about that more later. Right now we're just going to talk about what this podcast is, if you've never been here before. This is a geek stuff podcast, gaming podcast, horror podcast, whatever you want to call it, whatever gets you going if you're a geek and people make fun of you in public. Not as much as they used to though, because geek culture has prevailed a little bit. We can all agree there, right? All three cameras. That's right. We have 1, 2, 3 cameras covering this podcast, vlogcast. I don't know, man. It's a good time for me. I'm able to put my thoughts out there about the current state of gaming, news in gaming, how it relates to me. It's a really, really good time. I'm actually recording this before I have work, so sorry if it seems a little rushed. So let's get right into it. Our first tidbit of news for the day is a game that I actually enjoy a lot. I played it a lot when I started streaming. I need to start playing it again, even though I've beaten it. I beat it while I was streaming, actually. Hitman 3 gets its first 2022 update. That's right. Hitman 3, the best assassin game in the world over Assassin's Creed, because Assassin's Creed came out after Hitman, which isn't what it's about, but it's about the fact that Assassin's Creed is not as good as Hitman, in my opinion. Talking unbiased, having played like one Assassin's Creed game. I'm halfway kidding, but in my opinion, that's my favorite out of the two. Agent 47 is back, and the first update for this in 2022 is that the game will now support ray tracing, which if you don't know what ray tracing is the latest form of graphic fidelity for, I believe it's NVIDIA. I have a 3090 RTX, so I have the ability to have this ray tracing thing. I think you can have it on consoles too. All I know is that it more or less helps provide outline and depth and higher graphical fidelity for people who like to see a more in-depth affair, and for those of us who can swing it because our cards allow it or our systems allow it because they're next generation. Long story short, this game did not have it, which is really insane because I've been playing this game since like late 2020, and I seriously thought that this game had ray tracing it already because it looks that good. I mean, come on, man. You've seen the Dubai level. That Dubai level is fucking bonkers. When you land on the plane and all of a sudden you just see the sun when you're walking up the stairs. Oh, God, that game. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if you haven't played Hitman 3, you have to play it. And if you play it with ray tracing, you absolutely have to play it with that. Holy Christ, one of my favorite games of all time. The number 2 thing that's very awesome and very unique and a much bigger deal involving graphical fidelity is the game is now supportive in VR. Virtual reality with Hitman is one of the craziest things I think I've ever heard of in my life. The idea that you're able to take Hitman 3 and play it in virtual reality, because I just got into virtual reality. I don't have a headset, but I helped a friend set up his headset. I haven't played any games on it. Resident Evil is a must, but when I played Hitman 2 on the PlayStation 2 in like 2004 or 5, man, let me tell you, I lost my fucking shit. I loved that game. The idea of just playing the first level in that, where you kill the flower man and dress up as him to go inside the house with no weapons and kill the guy, and then you find out there's multiple ways to do it, especially watching now on the internet. Would you ever want to see something crazy? Watch speedruns of Hitman on YouTube if you want to see some really impressive people. I mean, there are people that can do the first level of Hitman 3 in 48 seconds flat or something like that. I don't know. It's ridiculous, but you guys have got to check it out. What else do we got going on? What else do we got? Yeah, so we have this VR mode. And I mean, I saw the first level, not the first level, but I saw the level in VR. I saw a quick glimpse of it. Most of us did. The first level in VR was the level with the mansion where you have to go kill the old lady, which is like not a spoiler because that's like basically a level in every Hitman game almost. But it's incredible. It looks fantastic. And the wild thing is VR graphics are actually starting to become really impressive to the point where I'm starting to really feel like I need to get a headset. There's a few other things I need to get hardware-wise before that, including the next-gen graphics cards, which is another story that we'll talk about, not on this podcast because I don't want to talk about my wallet like that. It hurts. But it's just unbelievable that VR is really coming so far as to provide us with, you know, this whole Hitman affair. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is on the way, thanks to Mark Zuckerberg, which is really strange. Hitman 3 will definitely be something that is going to continue to be very fun to play. And now there's actually, finally, speaking of this, I'm not done yet, there's an all-new mode called Elusive Target Mode. So there's already a elusive target mode that's a little bit more like you have to kill one it's hard to explain. I don't really play it that much, but I know it's a feature. But now there's an elusive target mode. What is it called? I'm sorry. Elusive Target Arcade Mode. There we go. That takes the current elusive target mode and makes it a bit more fun and challenging by making you have to take down other targets after you've killed one target. So you might think the level is done and then you have to kill another target. But the problem is you have to fulfill contractual obligations while you're killing each target. So let's say, for example, the first guy had to be killed as a clown, right? It might have to turn out that the second target can't see you as a clown or some shit like that because they'll know you killed the first guy. I don't know. I'm making that up. But I promise you, the Hitman creators are way more innovative and creative than some like on-the-fly affair that I just came up with on a podcast, vlogcast, whatever you want to call it. I definitely got to state that I'm excited for this, and I got to go check it out. I haven't turned on Hitman 3 in a while. I just upgraded my gaming PC and put Hitman 3 on there, but I've yet to turn it on. Got to go hop on there and download that. I also need to get the 7 Deadly Sins pack, which looks fantastic, which is actually a pack where, as you guessed it, you kill people based on one of the 7 Deadly Sins. 7, right? That's 7? Yeah, okay. Just making sure. Looking at 3 cameras here. One of the 7 Deadly Sins, and you just more or less rock with it like that. So what else do we got going on here? Oh, actually, Hitman 3 actually suffered a rather shaky launch on Steam last week or the week before, and a lot of this is being given out as free upgrades to those individuals who bought the game based upon launch from the Steam store and had troubles. Well, that's really awesome. I don't know why, but it seems that launching games on different stores like the Epic Game Store and the Steam Game Store really can come with some like hurdles that I don't know anything about because I'm not a developer, so I'm not going to sit here and talk shit. But it's really cool that, you know, it was given out to people for free like that. I don't know who's doing that, whether it's Steam or, you know, the people who make Hitman 3, but that's really nice of them to do. And, you know, commendable. I'm really happy to hear that that's how it's going down. But let's talk about a positive note on Steam. Yes, that's right. Speaking of Steam, the company Steam Deck being released by Valve is officially getting released. Ladies and gentlemen, it was 100% official. The Steam Deck, despite being red hot, is more than just vaporware. Huh? Yeah, I know. It's sad. I need to get out more. Anyway, the supposed Switch killer, which it totally is not, by the way, what the Switch will kill is itself by not having 4K, is officially being put on sale February 25th and actually will be out for delivery by the 28th of February. Yes, the first batch of handheld PC systems seeming to be shipped out on the 28th of February, as confirmed online. Wow, that's unbelievable. February 28th, the Steam Deck will actually ship out. You know, to my understanding, Valve has never really put out a bad product. I know a lot of people that I've told this about that have been into gaming a little bit harder than I have in the last, 5 or 6 years. A lot of people have said the same thing. Like, well, A, the fact that Valve is allowing you to modify this deck and use it so that way if you don't want to use Steam, and for those of you who don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, Steam is basically an online store where PC gamers go to buy PC games, right? We go and buy our games there, but there's also other game stores. There's the Epic Game Store. There's like some online retailers. Sometimes you can just buy the thing directly from the developers themselves with their store. It's rather interesting. I use both. I have the Epic Game Store and the Steam Store. I don't know if I said that before, but as I stated, I have Hitman 3 and 1 on the Epic Game Store, and then I have Hitman 2 on the Steam Game Store, which means I can't open up 1 and play both games. I have to close Hitman 1 and 3 if I want to play 2, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, they're making a system now, and the whole cool part is it's for PC people, but it's not. And the cool part is you can wipe the Steam hardware off of this and run your own hardware, and you don't even have to do anything fancy. Valve was just basically quoted as saying, literally, I think a year ago when this was announced, that, yeah, guys, you can do whatever you want, put whatever OS you want on here, do whatever you want with this, just fucking buy it. Please just buy it. Like, they don't care as long as it sells, and I don't blame them, like, as long as it sells, that's what matters. They need to make money, and this needs to be cool. And again, people say this is going to be Switch killer, which is terribly wrong, but the real question is, I can't get over the idea of who this is for, but I know it's going to sell. And I know right now it's just selling to scalpers who are trying to buy it, but this is really going to sell well. This is kind of a halfway point between someone, like, here's who this appeals to. If you have like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or One X or whatever it is that's new, This is kind of cool because now you can get a PC, because you probably already have a PC if you're not a PC gamer that's just for going online, or maybe you have a mild gaming PC, but let's say you don't. Let's just say you have like a MacBook or a Mac or something that isn't aimed at gaming at all. This is really cool because instead of having to buy like $1,000 to $2,000 gaming PC, you can drop like, anywhere from $450 to $550 on this PC engine built type of affair that can run PC hardware and software, and it's really impressive. It's actually similar to the Switch, not a Switch killer, in the fact that it's going to be a 720p mode that you'll be able to actually, have in the handheld mode, and then 1080p will be what happens when it's docked, and that's actually what happens with the Switch, to my understanding. Although the Switch OLED has it with an OLED screen, of course, making it different. I'm not sure if this has that. Don't believe so. Imagine to save some budgets on the new hardware, they would, have to eliminate the idea of an OLED screen at first. I'm sure there will be people who mod this in. Yes, sick bastards will do this. It has to happen. I'm also kind of wondering, is this for someone like myself who's into PC gaming? But I'll tell you what, I'm not dragging my $5,000 gaming PC out there. Hells no. I'm not bringing a 3090 with a Z690 motherboard and DDR5 RAM out the fucking door. Have you lost your fucking mind? Absolutely not. I am totally going to have to get something like this if I want a PC game on the go, if I'm going somewhere. But at the same time, I also have a PS5 that allows me to go and follow some more console games, because I do PC game way more than my console. I actually don't have a PS5 game. I have a PS4 game, and that's Spider-Man, because I bought this console just to play Spider-Man games because I am a fanboy like that. Otherwise, I don't know. But apparently there are other games I need to check out on it. But anyway, enough about the gaming collection of my PC. Back to this thing. This is fantastic, and I'm excited for it. I definitely don't have the money to get one right now. I just upgraded my entire setup, and the whole DDR5 RAM rush caused me to get a motherboard and RAM setup that was way more than I wanted to spend, but at the time, it was all I could get new from Newegg. Shout out to Newegg for getting me something at MSRP and on sale because I bought a combo. Hey! Anyway, let's take a look at what else I got on this list. Hang on. Take a sip of water here. Okay. Water's good. Water good. I tried doing this podcast drunk last night and fell asleep. Wasn't very good. Speaking of podcasts, really quickly, I got to tell you guys, now we're a little bit more, juices are flowing, I can get a little bit more into this. Doing a podcast is the hardest thing for me because I'm so used to streaming and talking and being like, hey, what's going on? Speaking of which, I got to post a thing that I'm streaming later. I'm so used to doing streaming and talking freely that even if I have 0 viewers, which does happen, I mean, I try to have 2 or 3, but sometimes I have 0, I can still talk about what's happening in front of me in the game. It's just kind of free-flowing. I'm having a good time. Pardon me. But with this whole podcast thing, I'm so, stressed in the sense that, when I see cameras rolling and I know I'm recording and no one's watching, I keep on thinking of, I'm filming something that has to be absolutely perfect. And I think about, when I made, for example, on YouTube, the video for making my modified joysticks that I made, that's what I was thinking of, the modified joystick video. I had a lot of fun with that, but I had to really film it first and then voice over it, and I had to make sure everything was perfect because I knew talking while I did it. Long story short, it's hard for me to get over the idea that if I stumble a little bit here, or if I need to pause and move something, everything doesn't have to be perfectly queued up. I don't need to have cue cards in front of me and stuff like that. I can relax and have a free-flowing, forming conversation with you people, and that's what this is really about. Having a good time, talking about what I'm into, and having people who are into what I'm into talk, and hopefully comment and engage, and, maybe later on we can start having people on here, but it's really hard for me to do that, so I'm really glad that I'm doing it again. Thanks to everybody who's checking this podcast out. What's the next bit of news I got? Oh, yeah. So, The Rock announces a new video game movie, but won't say what. Now, The Rock, to me, is the man who can do no wrong in wrestling and Hollywood. I saw The Rock before I even get started. I used to watch The Rock when he was Rocky Maivia in 1995, debuting for the WWE with my good friend at the time, watching wrestling and being like, oh man, it's Rocky Maivia. This is the opening match of a house show that me and my mom and my friend would be attending, and we would go get refreshments or go get shirts because it was a Rocky Maivia match. I saw the birth of Rocky Maivia turn into The Rock when he turned bad and joined the Nation of Domination and turned into this. And it is by far the coolest goddamn story I've ever seen in my life. And I'm so excited that The Rock is so involved in so much video game and Disney stuff, because the guy is really a versatile actor, and I'm very, very, very happy that he's embracing all types of roles, his action roles, his comedy roles, his action comedy roles, even though, you know, we've all seen the meme that shows The Rock in like the same, like, you know, button down plaid shirt saying these aren't the same movie, they're all 4 different Rock movies. You know, he knows his style. You know, he's paid his dues. He did a lot of old movies in the past that he didn't have to do. The Get Shorty sequel was the one that was really crazy, where they had him play a gay guy. But moving onward with the story, The Rock announces a new video game movie, but won't say what. He mentioned that they're bringing in one of the most badass and biggest games to the screen, and it's one that he's played for years. And I said that if I had to put a guess on it, it's probably WWE 2K20. Too soon? Too soon? No, I don't know what it is. I guess if I had to take a shot in the dark, I would like to see Red Dead Redemption come to the screen, but I don't understand what The Rock would do in Red Dead Redemption if he's starring in it. I know Henry Cavill said he wanted to do that. The guy who played Superman and the guy who was it Henry Cavill? Am I thinking the right guy? Anyway, the guy who plays The Witcher said he wants to bring Red Dead Redemption to the screen, and it would just be so funny if it was like, you know, like a tag team quote combo, but that's really how it goes. I can't really guess otherwise, because there's a lot of video game talk going on out there, and there's a lot of stuff up in the air, and I'm really excited for that, because I don't know if you guys remember someone's certain Castlevania anime review, but after the whole Castlevania thing went down, video games just exploded. Like, Castlevania anime really changed everything on Netflix for the idea of video games and media, and it's just so damn cool. It makes me so happy to see everything that's going on with Castlevania and everything involved that came from it. Series have been made, and gaming has been taken so much more serious, and I'm so happy for it, because this is what we deserve. Really, like, I grew up in an era where, like, video game movies, shows were okay. Like, I'm not talking, like, even the Super Mario Brothers Super Show for Super Mario Brothers 3 was pretty cool and stuff like that. But I got to say, I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited to see where things are going with this whole affair. It's absolutely mind-blowing to see all the media that's coming. I mean, there's a Halo series. Who the fuck needs a Halo series? Like, my God, it's like a Doom series. We don't need that, but that would be kind of cool. As much of a Doom fan as I am, I don't understand a Doom series, but let's see what else we got going on here. All right. What else do we got? Oh, this is like I said, we have eBay news today. eBay is always good. We have eBay is now to authenticate trading cards after costly mistakes, mostly with Pokemon. All right. Well, basically how it works is eBay has been burning motherfuckers with fake baseball cards forever. I knew a guy in like 2009 or 10 who told me he made a lot of money on the side just autographing baseball cards of famous people and selling them on eBay for like $20-$30, and no one would ever bother to have them authenticated. It was once upon a time before the whole water grading, you know, graded baseball card thing was really ever a deal. It was just when people wanted a signed baseball card to have it and display it in their house. There was no, like, I guess there was the idea of a long-term investment behind it, but it was unrealistic unless it was somebody popular. But, I mean, he told me he did this. I'm not into baseball at all, so I couldn't tell you anything. But I am into, you know, the collectible cards, and my neighbor actually owns Cards to Go down in Robbinsville, New Jersey, so we talk about stuff like this before. And apparently eBay has been getting burned on the back end, because when people have proven that the cards are fake, eBay owes it to the people to refund them, and then it goes after the sellers for the money. But if the seller has deleted the account and isn't around anymore, guess what? eBay is stuck holding the bill. And that's just how it goes. So more or less, this is how another company called StockX handles things. I bought my graphics card from StockX, unfortunately, in October of 2020. And how it works is there's a seller on StockX who has what you want, and they have it at a price. Whether or not they want it at your price is another story. You can ask for a price and see if someone matches it, or you can find a seller at a price and buy it. And how it works is you and the seller are anonymous to one another, whereas eBay, everything is more transparent. Like, you can see the seller can see you. There's ratings and stuff like that. You can talk to the seller if there's a problem, which we'll get to more on StockX. StockX works like this. StockX, like when I bought my graphics card, you know, I sent them the money, and before the seller ever sees the money, the seller has to send the graphics card or whatever it is. Mostly StockX is used for sneakers. So they send this device or the shoes off to StockX's headquarters, wherever that is. It gets inspected there. They look at it and confirm it's real. And then after it's been confirmed, they put a StockX sticker on the seal where the box meets. In my case, it was where the graphics card pulls apart. And from there, they ship it to the buyer. After the buyer is confirmed happy and all that stuff, StockX releases the funds to the seller. eBay was doing it the old-fashioned way where, you know, seller buys something, seller sells something, buyer buys, buyer gets money instantaneously. And now eBay really has to jump into the pool of everybody else of having to be that third party in the middle, most likely raising the costs. But hopefully this helps deter fakes, because as we all have seen on other podcasts, companies such as GameStop have tried to do this with vintage video games, and the disastrous results that have come from that, and the company has lost credibility. People putting in rare video games for Super Nintendo, such as Chrono Trigger and an NFL and an NFL game loading up. It's really, really just a fucking dog-eat-dog world out there in the classic collecting market. And it almost makes the idea of grading things seem acceptable to a lot of people who are into the heavier side of collecting this. But, I mean, it's just getting insane. I mean, this is just another example, especially with the whole Jake Paul affair. Jake Paul bought, like, what? All those Pokemon cards that were supposedly sealed first-gen games that I used to play on the concrete hardtops when I was, like... Well, I never played it, but I used to sit next to kids when I was playing Magic and summer camp in, like, 98, 99 with the Pokemon cards. Oh, man. Saw a lot of first-edition Charizards getting tapped and spun on concrete that'll make you cry. But let's see what else we have. So, yeah, Jake Paul, like I said, got caught with those fake Pokemon cards. They opened up the box, thought it was sealed. It was fake. It was G.I. Joe cards. Fucking G.I. Joe cards from the 80s. Unopened G.I. Joe packs. So, at least they were unopened packs. But, man, it was fucking... It was rough. It was really rough. So, let's take a look at what else we got going on. Oh, God, this fucking affair. Oh, boy. Anyway. Microsoft buys Blizzard Activision. Next on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. No, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. So, the elephant in any room of any podcast or video game that news that has gone down, and I would be stupid not to cover on making a return podcast on this, is Microsoft buys Blizzard and Activision. So, that's insane. Let me see something real quick. I'm going to pull up something on my phone. We're going to take a look at something. What games did Microsoft get when it acquired Blizzard Activision? We're going to take a look at this, because I don't know the exact one. What does it get? What did it get? Here's everything that's happened since. Let's see. I'm looking. Wow, I'm just looking at how madness-filled this is. This is insane. So yeah, it bought Blizzard Activision. I was hoping to have a list of everything it bought pulled up, but apparently all Activision Blizzard games. Here we go. So it owns, holy shit. It owns, Jesus Christ. I can't even. Wow, it owns Call of Duty, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Sekiro, Crash Bandicoot, Call of Duty. What else does it have? 2010. Let's take a look. Percy Jackins and the Olympians, Build-A-Bear, French Shop Val. I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up random games. Wow, it owns a lot. What does Blizzard own? Well, anyway, long story short, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard that does Call of Duty, Diablo, Sekiro. It bought a shitload of fucking games. I mean, it spent $69 billion to acquire Activision. That's absolutely bonkers. $69 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard. And this comes hot on the heels of the fact that this is probably a smoking hot deal for fucking Microsoft. I mean, smoking hot deal for Microsoft, because Blizzard just got fucking railed with those terrible, terrible, terrible workspace conditions that was happening to a lot of the female employees and the new trainees, be they male or female. Just a lot of frat house mentality and not some harmless shit, but like people feeling uncomfortable, lawsuits being pressed, a bunch of people being fired, including CEOs stepping down. And that shit went up for sale, and Microsoft probably saw the dinner bell ringing and just scooped that shit up for $69 billion. I really would like to have known what the value of Microsoft Activision was before this happened for a comparison ratio, but I don't know if we're going to have that. I'm trying to think what else. Let me see. I'm not sure why this happened. So here's the other thing that's actually like, here's what's blowing me away. You have people on this subject who really are under the impression that Microsoft is going to, keep in mind, they have Crash Bandicoot. They have the Sony mascot. Well, Sony's old mascot. Sony. Crash Bandicoot was Sony's mascot back in the 90s and the edgy days and like somewhat of the 2000s. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. It's funny, though, that the guy who owns Microsoft put Crash Bandicoot as his profile picture on Twitter and pissed off all the Sony fanboys. As I said, I have a PS5, so it's kind of a moot point to me. Moving onward, what was I about to say? Lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, you have these people that really are under the impression that they are not going to try and make as much money as possible with this. Like, Microsoft isn't going to, like first off, Call of Duty, they really think Microsoft isn't going to release any sort of exclusives for the PlayStation anymore. Like, Call of Duty will only be on Microsoft and PC. Like, no. First off, Call of Duty or whatever it is, Battlefield, I don't know, whatever the fuck they have. I don't do the bro shooters. That whole generation surpassed me. I never was into online shooters at all. The whole Call of Duty affair will always come out on the PlayStation 5. It's contractually obligated for the next, like, X amount of games. I'm not sure how many. But that's not how you make money in this industry. That's not how it works, all right? And Sony needs to start taking some notes, as much as I hate to say it, because realistically, they just spent $69 billion fucking dollars. Microsoft just spent $69 billion, and you honestly think that they're not going to try and recuperate this money back as quickly as possible. The only way to have that happen is by selling more products. What Microsoft did do was it decided it wanted to make a way to make money off of its competition's game sales, and it did. So now, when a PS5 guy buys Call of Duty or a Diablo game or a Sekiro or a Tony Hawk game for the PS5, Microsoft is getting money for it, as are when I buy it on my PC, which is really amazing because, PC is a hard market to break into for console gaming to make money. Because it's not a fucking console. Like, Sony just started releasing God of War and Horizon and all that stuff. And now it's just, it's just slowly starting to trickle in as Sony moves along with Microsoft's idea that console exclusives are sort of a dated idea. Really, as much as I love my PS5, I would love to be playing Spider-Man on my fucking PC. You know how good that would look on my 3090 setup? Oh my God, it'd be fucking beautiful. But I'm still out here. I got a PS5. I can't complain, but not everybody's so fortunate. But the idea of console exclusives is slowly dying out. And as Sony, like I said, starts to play ball, I'm really hoping that everybody just eventually starts doing timed releases. Like maybe God of War exists for X amount of time on, on Sony. And then it comes out again like for PC like it did for this. And then eventually maybe it comes out for Xbox. I'm all for that because that's what Sony used to do back in the day with the Grand Theft Auto releases. I don't know if you guys remember, but Grand Theft Auto 3, and it's hard to imagine this now, Grand Theft Auto 3, the only thing it could come out on was the PlayStation. So Rockstar signed a deal with them to do that. And then afterwards, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, again, only thing it could really come out on was the PlayStation 2. Xbox comes out, takes quite some time, but eventually the longevity contract between Sony and Rockstar fades. And moving onward, we have this whole affair of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank. We have this whole affair of, like, no idea what to do. How do we get Grand Theft Auto onto the next generation consoles? Well, anyway, after that was all said and done, and they figured out how to get everything onto the next generation consoles because Sony finally was broken loose of the whole exclusivity contract. Is that what I'm looking for? Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Had a moment. After Sony was broken loose of all that affairs, they just started releasing Grand Theft Auto and everything. But there was a time when the only way to get Grand Theft Auto was if you had a Sony PlayStation 2, and that is, of course, a dated mindset because that was once upon a time when the only thing you could have. Once Xbox and other things came out, you could get Grand Theft Auto on everything. And to be quite honest with you, that's how it should be for everything. And Microsoft buying Blizzard Activision means that's probably how it'll be because, to my understanding, there's no reason not to release games for the Sony PlayStation. Crash Bandicoot should always release on a Sony PlayStation and the PC and Xbox because that's how you make the most money with it. For those of you who don't understand why you get into selling video games, it isn't to be a fanboy, it's to actually make fucking money. And I know it's a foreign concept to a lot of people who only have one console, but as someone who has a PC console, blah, 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 I understand. I own a small business, and it's really important to make sure that you can get your product out there to as many people as possible, and more importantly, make as many people as possible happy to buy your product again when you have your sequel or other services come out. And that's how that works, to be quite honest with you. So let's keep on going. Got to scroll down a little bit. All right, now here's some good news. We got some, actually, a little bit of bad news. Evil Dead game is delayed to 2022 of May, which is really sad because it was supposed to come out next month. We saw no promos for it. We didn't hear a word about it. We just assumed it was going to happen. It was going to be a low-profile release, but that turns out it's not the case. Evil Dead 2 is released. Oh, my alarm's going off. 10:30. Evil Dead 2 is, in fact, delayed, unfortunately, which is really sad. Not Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead, the game, is delayed. And the reason why is Bruce Campbell said, I think back in like August or September, they were delaying the game because the whole purpose was to actually put a one-player mode in it, which really makes sense because I thought it was going to have a one-player mode in the first place, but it turns out it was just going to be a PvP game where it was going to be people playing as the good guys versus people playing as the Deadites, and, you know, that was going to be it, but apparently there was no one-player game at all, and now we're at this point where they're still delaying it to keep this one-player game going, and I'll be quite honest with you, given that the last Evil Dead game we got was quite some time ago, I don't mind the delay. There's plenty of other good stuff coming out in February that I'll talk about in just a minute, but Evil Dead is delayed till May 2022. And again, it's sad, but it's okay because Evil Dead is my favorite horror movie ever. I think I've stated that a million times, especially in previous podcasts. Evil Dead, the first one, is my favorite horror movie ever. The whole storyline, all the characters, I can't wait to play as. I can't wait to play as things and possess people, and I can't wait to play as Bruce Campbell and to possess people. It's going to be fucking dope, all right? Really dope. And I'm super excited for it, and I just can't wait. And we'll all definitely play it online. If you want to do that, let me know. Comment below. I'll make sure to make a note, and we'll get down later. But this bad news comes with much better news. Yes, I'm so excited for this. I mean, I'm like super excited. I need a moment here. Dying Light 2 is, in fact, dropping this Friday, February 4th, and you already know I'm streaming it on twitch.tv/ilsun4k, but that's another story. Dying Light 2 is dropping this Friday, and I am so excited for it. I don't know if you guys ever played the original Dying Light, but I played the original Dying Light in 2021, like early 2021. It was one of the first games I played after I got my gaming PC within the first, like, 6 months, and I was so blown away by the fact that this game had come out in fucking, what was it, 2015, and it had been getting updates for quite some time. But graphically, don't get me wrong, it was still a good looking game on my setup, and I saw how it was a little dated, and the map was a little bit smaller than I would like to see given today's hardware capabilities, but it played fantastic. The whole parkour element, and it was like parkour meets fucking Walking Dead meets like a first person shooter. It was like Left 4 Dead on fucking steroids almost, as you could say. I loved it. I had a great time with it. I liked the map. I know I said it was small, but it's just the whole intricacy of running around the village and finding people who need to be rescued. And I played that game to death. I did a lot of the side quests. I did a lot of the DLC. The DLC was really cool, like the anti-gravity stuff, if I recall. Everything about that game was fantastic. And it seems like Dying Light 2 is taking that all to the next level in every way, shape, and form. I mean, just starting with the trailer and what we saw in the parkour expansions and the way you could run off the buildings and run along walls and you could grab a zombie and jump and fall to the ground with it, it looks like everything you never thought possible because the new hardware is so fantastically badass. I am so glad that I'm playing this on PC and seeing it like you could never imagine otherwise. What else is there? It seems that you're able to pick a side this time around. Like, there's a choice and consequence affair, which I really hope they get down right, and I'll talk more about that later, but there's a choice and consequence affair where you can, like, choose to be, what's the word I'm looking for? You could choose to be on the militant side, or you could choose to be on the people side, you know, like, you know, I guess you could say hippies versus the machine. I'm going to choose the people because I'll be quite honest with you. I've been playing on Red Dead Redemption 2, and I've been doing some fucked up things in that game. Like, my honor is, like, really far to the left in red. Like, it's terrible. I'm a little ashamed at Arthur Williams, and I'm sure Arthur Williams is even probably, like, looked at amongst the gang like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So I think I'm definitely going to play this game in contrast to that and be a decent human being, because there's no reason for me to continue onward with this slaughter amongst many games. But staying on topic with Dying Light 2, you can, again, be militant or you can be, you know, a human being. There's a lot of new monsters and mutations. It looks like the mega mutations that came out at night during the first game are back and are even more fucking ballistically insane looking. I mean, they're tall, they're giant, they're imposing. They have the glowing red face, and they seem like they have arms growing out of their back now like this. It's absolutely insane how ballistically awesome the game looks. I'm interested to see, again, the choice and consequence affair, because that's something that a lot of games have been trying to get right, specifically Cyberpunk, which we'll talk about later on in this podcast as well. They've been trying to really get the choice and consequence thing right, where you like make a choice and it literally leads to a completely different game than if you had chosen another choice. And I feel like, speaking of Red Dead Redemption 2, there's a little bit more element of that in there, but that's a little bit more of a dated game. Choice and consequences really become more prevalent in like the late 2019 to like early 2020 games now to present. And I think this is a game that really could knock it out the park, because this game actually had, I think, footage like in 2019, actually. It had 2019 footage for Dying Light 2, and they showed you like a little bit of what you could and couldn't do and get away with, and how the choice and consequences was going to work. But then, unfortunately, of course, COVID hit, and that just delayed everything. Like, this game was severely delayed. I think this thing was supposed to be out last year originally, or maybe even 2020. I don't know. But I know it's severely delayed, and they just have released so much content for it in the last year. They delayed it from, what's it called? They delayed it from, I think, September, or no, they delayed it from October until now. But man, did they give us nonstop content. They showed us plenty of footage. There was advertisements out the ass letting you know this was the official release date. Like, they really made up for it. And to top it off, they also said they plan to have 5 years of DLC content for this thing out after it releases. So I'm really excited for this. I'm going to look forward to really streaming the hell out of it and playing it on release date. So if you want to check it out, make sure this Friday, 9 p.m., twitch.tv/Ilson4K for the Dying Light 2 launch day stream. You make sure to check that out. I'm just trying to think. Anything else I want to say about Dying Light? No, I'm just really excited. If you guys haven't, check out the fucking trailers. Also, continuing onward with good release news, Elden Ring is releasing. I am so excited. Elden Ring is a game that I didn't really know about until about 2 weeks ago. And I was looking at it. I was like, whoa, what is this? This looks like looks kind of like Red Dead Redemption with fantasy world settings. Is that really what this is? It's Red Dead Redemption with fantasy world settings? And it turns out, no. It's even better from the looks of things. I got back into gaming, like I said, in the late 2020, as I've stated before. And these whole Ultimate Fantasy Realm games that I wanted to get into, like Skyrim and all that stuff, it seemed like I really needed to be up on the backstory, and I needed to get into the previous games to get into, which I missed out on because, as I stated, I wasn't into it when a lot of these games were birthed in like the mid-2010s, early 2010s, and that's my own fault. But I just can't get over the fact that there's actually a game out there that I don't have to have a previous backlog on, and I can go check it out, because this Ultimate Fantasy Realm thing is really a big thing to me, because I grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, and then, you know, in the 80s, the fantasy thing was huge, like huge, like Princess Bride, Neverending Story, what was that? Not Neverending Story, the Gelfling story, the Dark Crystal. I saw all that shit growing up. And of course, video games had to replicate that. But the problem was, video games were little more than fucking speckle splatters on the screen. And the closest thing we got to an actual great game that took place in the forest and enchanted world is, of course, the original Zelda by Mario. The original Zelda that came out in America in '86. But we had a lot of crap games, a lot of poorly drawn animated games, and this seems like one that allows me to get into that swing and really enjoy the idea of, you know, running around in like an open world action RPG, because I really love action RPGs. They're absolutely one of my favorite series of all times. Like, not series, but game types of all times. I like the element of RPGs, but I don't like turn-based stuff. And speaking of which, is a very important RPG's birthday, 25th birthday today. There's the filming of this podcast, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. This seems like straight up my cup of tea. It comes out on, when is it? February 26th, I believe. February 25th. I'm sorry. February 25th, this comes out, and I cannot wait, because I will be playing the shit out of it as well. I'm going to be really busy with my streams, and I cannot wait to play a decent, respectable, fantasy-based action RPG game where I didn't have to be up on the previous 7 games that, like, had like multiple releases, and 2 on Nintendo DS that are hard to find, so I have to emulate it and play it. I don't know. I'm just glad that I can play a great game that's based on action elements from that. It's going to be dope. Speaking of which, and I said RPGs, happy 25th anniversary to Final Fantasy VII today. I believe it's the 31st to the 30th it came out. And we are stating that it is, in fact, the 25th birthday of Final Fantasy VII. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Sephiroth and Cloud and Tifa, Lockhart, and all that stuff. I actually didn't play that game. I wasn't too into the game. I had a friend who played the shit out of it that I used to talk to every day about it. He said it was awesome. I remember sitting next to him in like 4th or 5th grade, and he would just go on about it like, dude, it's so good. I was more into like Metal Gear Solid Tenchu, because as I just stated above, RPGs were cool. The only RPG I've ever really played and got through like patiently was Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo, which was fucking fantastic. I didn't know what that was, but I loved it when I bought it. I was like, all right, I don't know how this turn-based shit worked, but I'll figure it out. What else do we got? Yeah, 25th anniversary, the Final Fantasy VII. That's a masterpiece of a game. The remakes are out on PC and PS5 if you haven't checked them out already. I need to check that out on PC, but I'm going to be busy, like I said, with Elden Ring and a whole bunch of other shit this month. It's going to be insane. It's going to be a great month. Happy 23rd anniversary also to the original Silent Hill on PlayStation 1, which I also had on launch date, which was absolutely insane. I had that game, and I had beaten Resident Evil 2, like, previously. I had Silent Hill, and, oh, man. I remember that game got to me. I was blown away by it, because Silent Hill was never about, like, a big buff special forces type of person, like in the Resident Evil series. Pardon me. Wasn't ever really about, like, a big buff secret forces or special agent type of affair like in, Resident Evil or something where you're like an agent with a cop and you have a badass history and you're trained to like use a gun. Like Silent Hill, the original one, was about some guy who gets lost trying to find his daughter in some fog-filled town called, of course, Silent Hill. And you just got lost in that game, and it was terrifying because you didn't get a gun at first. You got a lead pipe, and these little, like, black demon children things would, like, run up on you. Like, they were, like, these black little tiny things with these beady red eyes running around, and, like, the opening sequence was someone, like, crucified with blood hanging out of it. Dude, it was fucking intense. It made Resident Evil look tame by comparison for a little bit there. I never got too into the series outside of the first game, but I can tell you that as relevant as it is, that game was definitely unsettling to play. You got a flashlight in it, and the whole idea is that you had this radio that would let you hear when the monsters were nearby, if I recall, and it would start crackling. And the flashlight was a good idea to have on, but it wasn't, because if they saw you with the flashlight on, they could see you. But if the flashlight was off, they might not see you. And eventually you got a gun, and eventually you did meet a cop, and you had to fight her. And if you knew how to do things right, you knew how to turn her from whatever zombification item she had become to something else. And the other thing is, Silent Hill had some of the most twisted fucking enemy design you've ever seen. Resident Evil's twisted, don't get me wrong. And we haven't seen a new Silent Hill in a while because, of course, Konami's just a fucking mess over there. But, oh man, those enemies are really like shit. Those enemies were really fucking just something else. I'm just getting uneasy thinking about them. They make me get like, woo, terrifying shit. But yeah, again, Silent Hill turns 23. That's absolutely insane. Now, also, something interesting. Let me pull something up. I had this just before I started the podcast. So, supposedly, in Cyberpunk news, Cyberpunk 2077, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a second, Cyberpunk 2077 news, supposedly, Cyberpunk 2077 has been spotted in the back-end code of the PlayStation 5 store. That doesn't mean that it's on the PlayStation 5 store, but it means that there's a database entry for this inside the store stating that Cyberpunk 2077 is going to come out on this system, which is supposed to be between March and February, so they said, maybe March and April. And there's a brand new artwork for it that's an alternative cover that isn't the cover that they have had since launch day, because I've had this game since launch day, and it seems like PS5 is actually going to come out with this game, and this could be a sign. Or maybe it's just, something that was put up there as a placeholder. Highly doubtful, though. Things like this only happen unless it's going to be listed and people can buy it. So, allow me to talk about this. I love Cyberpunk. I love Cyberpunk to death. Cyberpunk was the game that made me get a PC. I'm not even lying. I know that's the most ridiculous thing I think you could ever hear out of my mouth. Cyberpunk is the game that made me get a PC because I wanted to get back into PC gaming and I wanted to start streaming. I wanted to do content creation. I felt I was really going to enjoy this, and I am, hence why I'm here today. This game was so much fun for me because I had this ridiculous, I think I had a 10900K, 64 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4, 4000 megahertz, 3090, and I had an NVMe. No, I had a Samsung SSD. I didn't have the NVMe yet. And the game ran flawlessly. I had no real issues. I had some minor glitches, but nothing as crazy as what you saw on the consoles. And I know PC guys had glitches too, but I didn't have anything like truly insane or game-breaking or game-ruining. And I haven't had a glitch in the longest time. I just played it the other day, actually. I haven't beat it yet because I've been wanting them to really expand this roadmap, but they haven't. So I've just been kind of like riding around. And I have so much hope for this game because half the reason it didn't work, and I stress half the reason, is the hardware it was trying to run on, and the PS5 and the Xbox One X running the PS4 and Xbox One XS or whatever the hell it was, just weren't meant for it. It really was just a brutal fucking game for those previous generation consoles. My friend had it for the PS4 Pro. I just kept overheating his system. Sorry, my mouth's getting dry. I kept overheating his system. Kill this. Overheating his system. And he couldn't play it all the way through, but he played it and he beat it, and he actually got really good at it. He said it was a good game. Half of the reason why it was bad, like I said, was the fact that it was the hardware. The other half was about like halfway through the game, the story starts unraveling. Things start feeling a little too loosely put together. It's still enjoyable, and it still has a good story arc, and the story is still pretty goddamn good, but it just isn't as tightly wound at the end as it is at the beginning. And I feel like rushed is an understatement, but I feel like the story was actually more rushed than anything. The game itself plays pretty good. I know we were promised a bunch of features that never came, and I know we were promised a bunch of DLC that never came either, which is equally fucking frustrating. But it lived up to some of the hype, and not all of it, but it was still a great game. In my opinion, it is still a great indicator of what's to come, because it really did push next generation graphics to the very edge. It wasn't until I really upgraded my NVMe. It wasn't until I really upgraded to an NVMe SSD that I was finally able to break like 60 frames in this parts of the game, because normally when I game at Ultra 4K with I'm all the way up. I have a very ridiculous setup. Ultra 4K. I'm always in like the 80 to 90 frames per second range when I play like Red Dead Redemption and stuff like this with my NVMe. But before I had the NVMe hard drive, that game used to dip into like 53 to 57 in the really traffic congested neon heavy areas. And now that I have an NVMe, I'm well into the 60s and 70s, but I'm not anywhere near the performance of what the other games that I play are. That game is truly graphically groundbreaking and sound and awesome. I'm so excited for this. I really hope they figure this out. I really hope they fix this game. I really hope they No Man's Sky this game. It's been over a year, and I still play this game, and I still have so much fun with it. And I still haven't even gotten to the mods that supposedly really make this game something to behold. So I can't wait to check those out. Again, Cyberpunk 2077 will get a redemption arc. I can't help but feel that way. But when it happens is not to be spoken. It just seems that it's never ending, and I hope it's something that comes and isn't something that never comes, because the game deserves a lot more than it got, and the company suffered some hardships on its way, and it was a learning lesson for the entire industry, but it wasn't as bad as it seems. So that's what I hope happens. Please, please, please come to PS5 and Xbox One S, so that way all can be well in the world. All right, and lastly, I got this new little thing I do on this series. Where is it? I have a section now. Since I'm into video game streaming and I stream, I have a section where I call it "What am I streaming?" Or "What am I playing?" Let you guys know what I'm doing. I am currently playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 because I just got that game over holiday break after it went on sale, because that game is forever fucking expensive. I'm having a bunch of fun in it, being a terrible human being, tying people up, raiding campsites of people that don't have any problems with me. Watching the honor marker just go down while I do missions, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. What am I streaming is another story. I'm actually streaming a game for the PC that I bought my PS5 for, and I almost bought the PS5 game for, but instead it came out on PC, and that is God of War. God of War is what I'm streaming. I'm streaming it tonight. I'm streaming it Thursday as well, but then after that, we're going to do Dying Light. But this God of War game is great because I always wanted to play God of War. Back when God of War actually came out on the PlayStation 2, my friend told me, he's like, dude, you got to check out this God of War game. It's like right up your alley. I think you'd really like it. I was like, yeah, maybe. And it looked up my alley, but I don't know. I can never get into it. And lo and behold, it just stuck around and always got rave reviews. And, I heard there was like a bad game or two, but when there isn't in a series that long and old. But I went and I bought it, and I really like it, and I'm playing it. I'm enjoying it. The whole, father-son element of Kratos and his son is really interesting as we watch, Kratos try to be more of a fatherly figure to his son versus just, a warrior trainer. He treats his son as like a warrior, and his son's starting to break through to me and tell me how he feels about his feelings and how I am only good to him. And I only think he's good when I need something red because Kratos is illiterate. It's really a very well written and illustrated game so far. The attacks are awesome. The upgrade ability, again, action RPG, you know how much I love these. The upgrade ability to Kratos and his weapons and his armor and all the various combos you can do, depending on what style of player you are so good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a great time with it. If you're thinking about getting it, I definitely recommend it. Especially if you're waiting for it on PC. It looks gorgeous. Again, in Ultra 4K mode. If you want to get it for your PS4, PS5, get it for that. Either way, if you're into these games, action RPG, and you're looking for something to really build on and sink your teeth into, God of War is 100% the move to make. Again, I love the battle elements, the whole parrying, the whole being able to, 180 turn fast. Very, very well, good system that's easy to learn, but difficult to master as you will get fucked up. I play it on, not the hardest setting, because I heard that was like treacherous, and I have to stream, and I have to be able to progress in the game for people to want to watch my stream. Otherwise, why are they watching? I'm playing it on the second hardest setting, just to see how good it is. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a steep learning curve. If you go on my Twitch, you'll see me getting my fucking ass handed to me. I had to play that game for a couple days by myself before I streamed it again. I was like, I cannot be going on a stream sucking this much dick in a game that just came out. I don't care if it just came out. This is terrible. But I've gotten better. It's really fun. It's really awesome launching enemies, beheading them, like these semi-fatalities. Your son has upgrade ability as well. He shoots arrows during the fights, but he starts getting braver and jumping on enemies' heads. You get him to shoot poison arrows. That's what I got him doing now. It's a great game. I definitely suggest you check it out. Make sure you join my stream, by the way, twitch.tv/ilsun4k. We're always having a good time there on the live chats every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. So yeah, I think that's about it, folks. I don't got much else to say. I want to say thank you for checking out this podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If there's something you want me to talk about next week, make sure to comment on it below. If I said something wrong, make sure to comment about it below. If you think I should never do this again, comment about it below. That'd be great. Again, I'm ilsun4k. This is the channel. This is the podcast, Everything Under the Sun. I really appreciate you checking it out. So make sure you tune in next week. If I'm here, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to end this thing. I'm sorry. This is my first one in a while. You guys take care. Twitch.tv/ilsun4k. Please end.